Yo tengo viviendo en este mismo espacio 23 años. Aquí crecieron mis hijos, mis nietos, mis bisnietos. Me siento más que bendecida.
Over the span of 2 decades, Rosario Flores Rios has worked hard to build a home for herself and her family in the San Jose Mobile Home Park. Despite many hardships, she has cherished living in this tight-knit community where everyone knows and looks out for each other. Then one day in early 2022, she received an eviction notice from out of the blue.
Yo la verdad no me esperaba. Me sentí mal, perdida, sin salida, y en ese momento yo no tenía trabajo y pues digo, ¿qué voy a hacer?
Mrs. Rios was served with an unlawful detainer lawsuit that was based on allegations that her trailer was not in compliance with the law. It was an intimidating situation. Mrs. Rios spoke almost no English and had no knowledge of how to navigate the unlawful detainer process.
It is a fast-paced process, being that they have 5 days to respond. 5 days. If they do not respond within those 5 days, they face a default judgment against them.
And what that means is there's just a judgment that the landlord is entitled to possession of the home and that you have to move out. No matter whether you have good, valid defenses, whether you have children, whether you're sick, you would have to move out.
En ese momento estaba viviendo mi hija con sus 2 niños menores de edad. Dice, mamá, ¿cómo es posible que nos vamos a ir? ¿De verdad nos vamos a ir a vivir a la calle?
Evictions in Santa Clara County have been skyrocketing in the past few years, especially since the expiration of pandemic-era tenant protections. Add this to the ongoing affordability crisis in the Bay Area, and it becomes a recipe for widespread housing instability.
It's contributed to one of the largest unhoused populations in the country, and it's not a colorblind problem. Latinx families are at high risk for eviction and have the highest growing and fastest growing rate of homelessness in Santa Clara County. We also have community members who don't have service resources available to them in the same way that English speakers do.
Tenants like Mrs. Rios, because of that language barrier, are at a disadvantage. Legal documents are not in her native language, just not knowing their rights. So all of those things can be challenging if faced in a situation like hers.
With the Law Foundation's help, Mrs. Rios was able to respond to the unlawful detainer suit, as well as negotiate a settlement agreement with the landlord. But even once the legal issues were resolved, Mrs. Rios was left with needing an entirely new trailer to bring her home up to code. Enter Sacred Heart. Partner organizations like Sacred Heart have areas of focus outside of the law that allows the Law Foundation to provide a more holistic support system to our clients.
They are super important in our work.
Me dieron una ayuda demasiado grande.
The Law Foundation aided Mrs. Rios through the entire process of disposing of her old home and purchasing a new trailer that was in compliance with the law.
Me siento como de 20 años, me siento renovada. Yo pienso que si yo no hubiera recibido ayuda, sería una persona más viviendo en la calle. Pues definitivamente el Law Foundation para mí fue más que una bendición.